He's a 3-ton orca who just wants to make a splash, literally. We're diving into Free Willy, where a kid and a killer whale team up for the most epic jailbreak of the 90s. Grab your wetsuit and your nostalgia because we're watching another movie at Grandma's.
Hello. Please come in and make yourself comfortable. Welcome to Movies at Grandma's House, where we review movies from our childhood to see if it's good today and family-friendly enough that even Grandma can enjoy. And I'm your host, Isaac. You're the reason I'm working so much overtime.
And I'm Seth. What's the matter? Why are you making that awful noise for?
And I'm Zach. I'm not into talking when I'm eating.
Welcome one and all, and a big welcome to our special guest, Zach. We are so excited to have you on. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, man. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's a real honor to be invited onto the show. I love what you guys are doing over here. I love family-friendly content. I love family-friendly movies, and I love Free Willy. So this works out entirely perfectly for me.
Awesome. Yes, we are so excited to have you on. And for that reason, we're going to be talking about this movie. What is Grandma putting on for us this week, Seth?
Yes, like you mentioned, 1993's Free Willy.
That's right. So we are going to be breaking it down. We're going to be discussing what our experience was like revisiting this film. So right now, going forward, this is your spoiler warning. If you've not seen this film, consider yourself warned. Well, while Grandma's trying to reprogram the VCR, she's messing around with it. Let's look at the back of the film case to get some film facts on this movie. Free Willy was released back on July 16th, 1993. It had a budget of $20 million. The box office, $153.7 million. Looking around at some reviews, IMDb sits at a 6.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes is a 71%. Letterboxd has a 3 out of 5, even score there on Letterboxd. Streaming, currently as of this recording, you could watch it on Amazon Prime. It stars Jason James Richter, Michael Madsen, Jane Atkinson, Lori Petty, and many more. It's in association with Warner Brothers Pictures. And last but not least, we have to hear, how is Grandma going to rate this one?
Granny's family-friendly rating for Free Willy is a B for language, smoking, and a sensitive plot.
So there you go. We'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So if you've seen this film, we want to hear from you. Be sure you leave a comment down below your rating and your memories. So let's jump right into this. As our special guest, Zach, I'm really interested to hear, what are your first memories with Free Willy?
Oh, man. Free Willy and Star Wars A New Hope were just Star Wars because I had the original trilogy. My dad had the box set when it was just Star Wars. Those are the first two movies I ever watched. I don't remember in which order, but one of the first frames of film I've ever seen is when that whale jumps up at the beginning of this with the music and everything. Like, that is burned into my brain. The VHS tape with the cover of Willy jumping over Jesse at the end of the film, that's burned into my memory. Unfortunately, I don't have the VHS that I grew up with as a kid anymore. I think I have it I have the VHS. I just don't have like the clamshell cover or anything like that. But the back of that thing, the side, the front, like, it's completely burned into my memory. I played this movie endlessly when I was a kid. And when I was in the pool, I didn't pretend I was Jesse. I was Willy. My parents still mock me about it because I had a speech impediment when I was younger. So I would be in the pool and I would just be jumping up like a whale and being like, bash, instead of splash. I would say bash. So I still get made fun of by my family with that. But this movie is so special to me, and I never really stopped watching it, to be honest. Like, this wasn't really so much a rewatch as it was just another watch. Because I've watched this, I don't know how many times I've watched this movie. It's been endless times. And it started, I must have been 4. I must have been 4 when I first watched this.
Awesome. That's what we love to hear right there. That's just a memory right there of just bringing it back. Like you said, you watch it all the time now. I'm sure you relive it, but that also hit me when you said the clamshell, because you think about VHS, they sometimes just had the cover you slide up, but the clamshell, oh yeah, that's
all the Disney movies had the clamshell. Yeah,
oh
it was
man,
special.
you just took me back from that. So I love it, but I don't know if you have that kind of experience, Seth, but what are your first memories with this film?
Nothing that spectacular, but I really don't recall seeing this on the big screen. But I feel like I watched it over and over again when it was newer. It was definitely on replay for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. For me, I can almost picture us going and seeing it in theaters. I was really young at the time, so it might be a little fuzzy, but we definitely saw it when it first came out. And exactly what you're saying, Zach, the big thing, I look at it now, I'm like, man, they kind of spoiled the movie because it's the end scene of the whale, but it's still awesome. Like, come on, it's still, spoilers. I thought it was still fantastic. And that's why they probably did that, making it a part of their advertising. But if we didn't see it in theaters, I remember the posters, like you're talking about, the whale jumping over Jesse there. That was everywhere in 1993. And I think of like pop culture references. There's a lot of spoofs. There's a lot of just knockoffs of it. So yeah, this was kind of a phenomenon back then. You have to live through it to really understand if you're looking at it from today's eyes. But yeah, that's kind of my first memories going back to it. Like, man, I forgot how big deal this was back in 1993. But with that said, kind of talked about it a little bit, but what were your expectations, Zach, going back on the rewatch?
I mean, like I said, it's hard for me to really put myself in the mindset of like, I haven't seen this movie before or in a long time, because like it's just the whole thing is burned into my brain. Like I think I could I can't recite the movie, but I definitely know how it goes from beginning to end in my mind. I just love the adventure of it all, and I guess what I'll say is, I'm just happy that I can still enjoy it as an adult. Like, I'm happy that, because I've gone back to some other movies I've watched when I was really, really young, and there's nostalgia there, but I don't like them all that much anymore. And I don't feel that with Free Willy. And I think there's a lot of investment and a lot of attachment that I've given to this movie that it's going to be hard for me to ever detach myself from it. But yeah, just being able to go back and just like feel the awe and wonder that I felt as a kid whenever I go back and watch it. Like I'm very happy that it still plays that way for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. How about you, Seth?
Yeah, I'm really just hoping to enjoy it. It's been so many years since I had come back to this one. So yeah, I was really hoping just to have that nostalgia with me, like, because when I was a kid, I just watched it over and over again, but then there was a long gap of time if I haven't seen it. So yeah, I was hoping it would still be fun.
Right on. I was just hoping, again, I talked about all that nostalgia. Like, I have not seen this movie since then. I was kind of the opposite of you, Zach. Like, it had been years since I watched this. I enjoyed it at the time, but I kept thinking, is this going to be as good as I remember? Because I'm thinking of all these advertising, all these posters and all this and that. So I'm thinking, is this going to be good when I come back to it? But I've got 4 kids, so they're all different age groups. I was like, I'm hoping what is their reaction going to be on this one? Because for the most part, I remember it being family friendly, and I'm thinking it's a whale. Technically, we'll get into what one of my kids said it wasn't a whale. I'll explain a little bit more as we get into it, but
they're technically right.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just seeing their reaction, that was kind of my expectation of like, are they going to be able to enjoy this like I remember it being back so many years ago? Well, before we get into our plot rewind, let's pause just a moment to hear from our sponsors.
Hey, love movies as much as we do? Then bring the experience of the theater to your walls with movieposters.com. Whether you're into the classics, the blockbusters, or indie gems, they have something for every single film fanatic. As a listener of our podcast, you can save up to 15% on your order right now. Just use code Grandma's House at checkout. Head to movieposters.com and let's build your ultimate collection today.
All right, let's take the VHS out of the cover or the clamshell and put it in the VCR and press play.
Young Jesse fell in with the wrong crowd and vandalizes a marina. He has to go clean up his mess and meets Willy, an orca whale. The two bond, and Jesse teaches Willy some tricks. Will Jesse be able to save Willy in time? come join us at Grandma's and find out.
Right. Very nice. So, first impressions is, man, again, it's 1993. Everything about this just brings me back to being a kid. And it has a lot of those like 90s plot lines that it goes along with. So immediately I was brought back in like, man, I feel like a kid again. This is awesome. And a confession to make, my oldest didn't want to watch it. He was kind of like pushing back, like, oh, this doesn't look interesting. I'll get back to his thoughts later, but I want to get to you, Zach, as our special guest. What's kind of like your first impressions as you're watching this movie?
I always feel the summer atmosphere when I watch it, which I love. And truth be told, before I watched it again for this viewing, the last time I saw it was this past summer. It was like the sun was just going down, and I was sitting on the couch with my wife, and I was like, "Do you want to watch Free Willy?" Because like it just like the summer, it feels like summer, and I want to watch Free Willy because there's a lot of shots in here that just remind me of summertime. Like even the beginning when Jesse and his friends are running around and causing mayhem in their town. There's that shot where they go to run and grab the cake, and you could tell like it's summer evening. Like you can just see it in the weather in the sky, and it just brings me back to being summer as a kid, running around with my friends, riding bikes. Like one of the big reasons I wanted to get a bike in the first place when I was younger was because Jesse had a bike, right? And then I had training wheels, and I was like, Jesse didn't have training wheels, but you had to go through the whole thing. But yeah, it brought me back to that feeling of just running around being a kid in my neighborhood with my friends and remembering how that felt. And I thought the movie captured it pretty well at the beginning there with Jesse and his crew.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree. And it was released in July. You almost wonder if that was intentional. Like they were trying to get that setting, because I completely agree with you. It does a good job of just summer vibes, being a kid outside. And that's how it was back then. You didn't have the internet and all those things to distract you from staying inside. What about you, Seth?
For me, it was more than a bit of nostalgia, but it got much darker of a story than I remembered. So, like I said, there was many, many years in between, and then I came back to it, and I'm like, whoa. And then I was like, yeah. It made me really think about this one.
It did. That's like, it's weird because like, Zach, you mentioned it captures being a kid, but then I'm like, I don't remember this kid being such a brat and being a foster child. That's something I forgot. And he's kind of like this little spoiled brat of like, he's stealing the cake. I thought that was really odd because he's stealing a whole cake. It's not like he's, a foster kid just scrabbling by. Like he's actually stealing stuff at the beginning. I don't know. What did you think of that, Seth? Like he's stealing scraps at first, but then he like steals a whole cake.
Well, then he goes and vandalizes, and I'm like, what? Where is this going? But then the story got darker and darker at some points, and I'm like, wow, this is really deep. This is much deeper of a film than I thought it was. So I was really surprised in a good way that way.
Stealing a cake, which when he steals the cake as a kid, you're like, man, I want to do that. That's awesome. A whole cake, like that was awesome. I loved that as a kid. Nowadays, I'm like, wow, what a brat. Like, man, now they're not going to have their wedding cake. The wedding's ruined, and it's all because of Jesse. And it's like, but as a kid, that's awesome. I want to do that.
That is a good point. Like, as a kid, you're probably like not thinking about those kinds of things. But when you come back to it, see, when I watched it as I'm watching it as an adult, I'm like, this kid is stealing a cake. What is he doing? Like, this is screwed up. And then he graffitis. I mean, that is a part of the plot. That is a big reason of how he meets Willy and stuff. But when he's doing it, I'm just like, what are you doing, kid? I know you're a foster kid and kind of running around and stuff, but I was definitely looking at it with adult eyes. That's for sure. But getting back to the plot, what did you think about the plot overall? Go back to you, Zach. Just what did you think of that concept of this kid kind of having a bond with a whale and ultimately, like the title suggests, trying to make him free?
I mean, like, now that I'm older, it's definitely a template that I'm sure at the time probably felt a little bit played out. Like, all right, you did it with a bear, you've done it with a monkey, you've done it with a koala bear. Like, now you're doing it with a whale. And a dog, of course. It's a template of a boy and his dog story as well. But I think that just the size of the creature and the whole objective being to take him back to the ocean, and then it becomes almost like a road trip type movie near the end there. I think it does allow it to stand out. I think it does become more than just a boy and his dog, but the dog replaced with an orca. So I think amongst that genre of film or category of film, if you want to call it that, I think it stands out and above a lot of the other ones. Because I haven't gone back to like, I remember there was one about a boy and I think it was a panda or something in the I can't remember what that was called. But
Yeah.
like the thing about this movie too is I remember, like, I watched that VHS so many times. I know that the Batman Mask of the Phantasm trailer would play, and then we would lead into Michael Jackson's music video for Will You Be There, and then it would go into the movie. And there's so much that I remember about this. But going back to your question about the story and overall, I think it still holds up, and I think it stands out amongst the batch of films like this that we got back in those days.
I agree. No, I love it. Like you got so many nostalgic memories, and I love it because, like I said, it's been probably 1993, 1994 since I've seen this movie, and everything you're saying, that's just flooding back. So that's awesome. I agree with you though on the plot. I think it needs a lot more credit. I really enjoyed their bonding scenes. That it shows why he's unique, because this is a place that's failing. They can't train this whale, but he has that connection. And his background is, it works. I agree with you. It's just different. It's unique. It's not playing out exactly. If you compare it to a dog, it's definitely not the same. But maybe some people on the surface think of it that way. But what about you, Seth? What did you think about the plot?
Really, for a family movie, it was quite serious. Very dark moments. It had some complex scenes, which we can talk about later. Jesse gets adopted. But that has some moments for sure where they were heavier. And then they want to get rid of Willy for a bit there, and it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
It wasn't really exactly what I remembered. Like, I remembered the good things about the movie. Like, the bad things I completely blocked those out completely. And I was like really surprised. But yeah, the plot was pretty strong actually for, I would say, like a 1993 family movie.
Yeah. That is a great point. Like, I think the same way. Like, I was remembering all the good stuff, and then I forgot, like, yeah, we're just going to get rid of this whale because we have an insurance claim on it. It's like, whoa, I thought they just wanted to free this whale because he's miserable, and they do, but there's kind of high stakes for sure because they're trying to free him, and the owner is just, the owner is played by Michael Ironside. He just always plays a good villain. He's just that, I want money. I just don't care about this whale's life. I want the insurance money. And they're, like you're saying, Zach, it almost becomes that road trip. Like, they're a race against time. They go through a car wash to try and keep the whale alive, keep him wet. I mean, that was kind of a funny touch, I thought. And my kids were laughing about it. Like, are they going through a car wash? I'm like, yep, that's the manual. They're used to the automatic, but back then that's the standard car wash. But I really had a good time with this plot. Like you guys are saying, I agree with you. It's just unique. It's maybe, like you're saying, your standard, boy connecting with a dog or some kind of animal. But come on, it's a whale. It's just so cool. That scene where he's having them do tricks and like spin in the water, and he's feeding them the food. And that's where they first notice, like, hey, there's something going on. Up to that point, Willy was just very grumpy. They said he's just to himself, but there was something with that connection. I really like that scene, and that got you immersed into the movie more. I think it really started to pick up. I think it was a nice slow burn, and by that point, you're really invested and really into it. Like, yes, let's free this whale. Not whale, technically a dolphin. Coming from my oldest, there, I gave him a little shout out because he was like, "It's a dolphin. It's not a whale."
He's smart. He's a smart kid.
He is. I'm a little biased, but he is a little smarty pants. He'll correct you on that kind of stuff. But go back to you, though, Zach. I mean, that's kind of the plot, but we got to touch about the characters. I mean, what'd you think about Willy or the actors and characters that are supporting?
Well, that's something about it, too, is I feel like a lot of these movies with the boy and the type of animal, the animal's kind of there for like the cuteness and like the cute scenes, and there's not really any character usually given to the animal. But I like that they do that with Willy here, played by Keiko. Shout out to Keiko the whale. Who they give him a character, and they relate it back to Jesse by having him be rebellious, not wanting to perform like you mentioned. And it's the kinship that they find in each other of like being orphans, being stranded away from their family. And I don't know. I think that is a underlining brilliance of the movie that maybe isn't touched upon it that much when people talk about this film, is they really allow you to buy into the connection between Jesse and Willy in a way that makes Willy feel more like a character than just another animal that, oh, the boy likes the animal, it's pretty and all that stuff. No, they have like a genuine, real relationship and friendship. And they do a great job depicting that over the course of the film, and how interactions with Willy changes Jesse's interactions with everyone else around his life. And so I like how they were able to just kind of make that a through line throughout the entire film and through these characters. And it's also, we lost Michael Madsen recently, so seeing him pop up here, which is kind of hilarious because I only know him from like Tarantino films, so it's really interesting to see him pop up in a film like this. But yeah, just seeing him again, and just like, oh, we lost him this year, and it's a great supporting cast too. But that through line, that relationship, that kinship between Willy and Jesse, I think is what is at the center and core of the film, and I think that's why it standed the test of time.
I agree with you. Yeah, that's where, again, I go back to once they really connect, because like you said, they're both kind of rebellious in a different way, and they kind of intertwine and connect. So you feel that. Again, it's a great family flick that does a good job of those characters. You feel that connection there. But what about you, Seth?
Well, you guys said it perfectly, but I'll say this. So Jesse was a complicated character, but really well acted, I would say, for his age. Then we have the orca whale. Did you guys notice like the horrible sounds that Willy was making throughout the film?
Yeah.
It was quite jarring.
Nails on a chalkboard at times.
Don't think it's very realistic that.
No, I don't think so either. I've never heard a whale sound like that before.
I always thought that was the soundtrack though.
Really?
Not this viewing, but when I got older. But when I was a kid, I just always thought that was like weird music. That's like I would almost cover my ears. It sounded so bad.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I got older that I was like, oh, they want me to think that that's what that's the sound Willy's making to his family, and I was like, no, I don't think I can buy into that.
I love that you mentioned that. I can't tell you off the top of my head, but there's other movies like that where I thought it was the soundtrack, and then I go back on it, and it's like that was a character or it was a sound effect. And I was like, oh, I thought that was a part of the music because it's very dramatic. Like you're talking about, like it could be the soundtrack of trying to play up, oh, it's so sad, with this whale, but it's just the whale just, it is like nails on a chalkboard though.
He's like mimicking Jesse's harmonica.
Yes. That is true. I kind of like that. I forgot he had a harmonica, and that kind of, I don't know, made him kind of unique. I was like, at the beginning, I was like, man, this kid's kind of a jerk. He's just a little brat, but it did bring it back with the harmonica. I'm glad you mentioned that too. But yeah, the characters, I was really happy to see Lori Petty. Brings me back to like A League of Their Own. I loved her in that. She's a great actress. She's one of the best actors in this movie. I thought she did a terrific job in this one. You have, again, I mentioned Michael Ironside. He just plays that owner. He's just really good at playing that villain for whatever reason. I don't know what it is. I'm thinking of other roles, and I'm like, you're pretty much playing the same character, but he does a good job with it. Michael Madsen, like you said, yeah, loved him in that. And one of our favorite scenes was actually where they cut him off and they're getting Willy into the water. It's towards the end. They're about to free him. And they grab Jesse, and they're getting him. And Michael Madsen turns to him and grabs the one guy. I think his name is Wade. And he's just like, let go of my boy. We all cheered. We're like, yeah. Like, we don't encourage punching people, obviously. But this is like, yeah, you're grabbing my boy. Yeah, I'm going to, and it's that just, I don't know. It makes you want to cheer because, like Seth said, he's adopted. That's his adopted parent. And it was just so fitting. It was like that moment they were kind of struggling to connect. But up to that point, they were finally bonding. And that was just the cherry on top. It was just like, yeah, like that's the kind of moments I love to see. And especially when you're watching it with your kids and they're cheering too. It's like, yeah, that's what I love. But just open up to you guys. Anything else to kind of add about this movie? I know there's so much we could touch on, but anything else to add and throw in there?
Zach, do you have anything?
I would say the animatronic whales get underappreciated in this film.
I agree.
For the longest time, and honestly, even to this day, sometimes I can't tell the difference between the real whale and the animatronic whales. And it's only when I'm like, I don't think they could shoot that with a real whale that I'm like, it's probably the animatronic one. Of course, there's an abundance more in Free Willy 2, which are also phenomenal, like underappreciated in my opinion. But yeah, that's an aspect of this film that I don't think gets talked about much. And I think because it's so seamless, that's why no one really admires it as much as I think they should. I think the work is really incredible.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think when, we talked on it a little bit, but that final scene, that's really what you're waiting for. I mean, you're really waiting for that scene. The rest of the movie is still great. I'm not saying that, but like that is the scene. I mean, again, it's on a poster. It was all in the scenes everywhere. It did kind of show its age a little bit, but that was CGI. Yeah. I completely agree with you. Animatronics, like I looked up later and didn't realize it. I thought those was all whales. And that is a good point. Like you couldn't do that with a real whale. Like there's certain things in certain scenes, how they were shot. But it fooled me. I'm just going to be honest. I was immersed in the movie and I'm just like, I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time. And then when you think about the work, like, wow, it really doesn't need more credit. I completely agree. That's a great point of.
Well, I mean, they're not going to put the whale on the back of a truck and then haul it into the woods, right? But like, can you like tell the difference? And then even like the end, maybe they did. I don't know. I've tried to find behind the scenes on this so many times to like get the actual like factual, which is animatronic, which was Keiko. And as far as I can tell, everything at the aquarium is Keiko because that's where they went to shoot with Keiko. And then everything that with a whale outside of the aquarium has to be an animatronic, except for the beginning of the film because they actually went out and shot those wildlife scenes of the orcas swimming and spy hopping and doing all their stuff. But like even the end when he's trying to swim past the nets and the nets drop and all that, like that has to be an animatronic moving in the water. They wouldn't actually take Keiko or a whale to the actual ocean and put him in there. Like there's no insurance, and also like he would just escape. Like there's no way they would do that. So like, yeah, there's moments where you could be like, that is for sure an animatronic because there's no other way it could be done. But man, does it look good. Like I couldn't tell the difference.
Again, it fooled me, so it worked. But yeah, anything else that you want to throw in there, Seth?
Yeah, I really like the scene where Glenn wants to play catch and Jesse gives him attitude and Glenn sets him straight. The acting and dialogue is really strong in that scene. The emotions between the two characters, you kind of get a feeling for both characters as well in that scene. Jesse didn't want to follow orders, but Glenn kind of tells him like it is. And there's a lot of emotion, like I said, between the characters. And I liked how it was like an interchange between the two characters that weren't communicating with each other. And it's like the first time they actually kind of like really get to know each other. And he's like, what are you getting out of this? And he's like, I'll be $1 million shy or whatever. But with the money I get from helping you or whatever. I thought that was really an interesting line. And it was well delivered, like that whole scene. And I just really appreciated that whole breakdown of that scene.
Yeah, that was a great scene. Again, it built that relationship. It wasn't just, okay, you're adopted and let's move on. Like those types of scenes, you really look back and you appreciate. It adds so much more to the characters themselves and the way they're able to connect. So that's great. Well, Seth, I think it's time for your fun facts. So give us what you got.
All right. So you mentioned a couple of them. So I wasn't going to say this one, but since it was brought up, I'm going to say it. So actually, the harmonica that he's playing is reedless. And the reason why is because he was playing it around the cast. And to keep them from being annoyed, he wasn't making any sound. So they edited all that in. All the harmonica in this movie is edited in. If you actually look hard enough, if you're a harmonica player, you can tell he's doing it backwards. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Nothing I didn't notice. Did you notice that, Zach?
No, I knew that fact, but when I watch the movie, I don't notice it. No.
I guess I was so immersed in the movie, I was not paying attention to that kind of stuff. But that makes so much sense because long shooting days and you're hearing a harmonica, that would get old.
So the next thing I found was they auditioned 23 orcas for the role of Willy. 21 of them were from SeaWorld, who declined to offer them the use of them in the movie because they were unimpressed with the script and at one point requested a new ending for the film.
Oh, so they were kind of stepping on their toes a little bit. Like,
yeah.
Wow.
I was shocked to find that out.
That is interesting. I went to SeaWorld growing up. I recall going. Did you ever go, Zach, growing up? When it was still around?
No, I didn't. Always wanted to, but no, didn't.
Yeah. It was pretty interesting. Yeah, the whole, like, them jumping out onto the floor, whatever you want to say, where the trainers are. They did all that, and you'd get splashed if you were in the front row. I just have those like little core memories. I was really young when we went, but I could see that's interesting. Wow, they wanted to change it. I could see them saying that's bad publicity. That's really interesting.
So the next one is, which something I wondered about, is to make Jesse's run at the end of the film on the jetty smoother as he tries to guide Willy away from the fishermen. There was a wooden pathway that was made and inserted just behind the rocks. And I always wondered about that because I was like, he's got to climb those rocks. And how can he run on the rocks? Like, that would be insanely dangerous.
Yeah, I wouldn't let my kids do that. If I saw them on rocks, like, don't run. No, stop. You're going to fall. Just, life of a parent. Yeah.
This one, I think, sets a record because we had a previous movie that was similar. So described in a long process, 12 out of 4,000 actors were the top candidates for the role of Jesse.
4,000?
4,000. Which we had another movie, I think it was like 2,000 or 3,000 actors that were considered for a kid's role. It's really hard to cast a younger child because they have to be able to do those scenes, and it's not easy. So they kind of have to go through a rigorous, casting process.
Hand it to the casting team, man. You have to sit through 4,000 auditions. I mean, I'm sure it's not one person, but I don't care. That's a lot of.
I think it was open casting call too, wasn't it? Open casting.
I probably was, yeah. Because that's the last one that we covered was an open casting.
That's impressive. I think that is a record for sure. We should keep track of these things so we can actually say like, this is the new record on our podcast, what we've considered on movies.
So another one, I'm curious to know if Zach knows this one. So in the original draft, Jesse does not speak until near the end of the movie, where he shouts out "Free Willy" during Willy's jump. So in the original script, he didn't even talk until the end of the movie.
I did know that one, but that sounds horrible. To be honest.
And you wondered, does the script go with those 4,000 casting? So were they just casting kids just looking at them?
I don't
know. Like, you're only going to say one line. So literally
it must have been early on in the process is all I can say. So it's time for a fun fact trivia question. Are you guys ready?
All right.
Yep. You ready, Zach?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
So you brought this out, so I'm hoping you don't know this. The animatronic Willy took how many months to make? A, 3, B, 5, or C, 7 months?
I normally like to let guests go, but be honest, Zach, is this a question you know?
I don't know this answer.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to let you go first because I was like, I can go first. I don't want to cheat and just steal your answer.
I can repeat it if you need me to repeat it again.
Go ahead.
So it says the animatronic Willy took how many months to make? A, 3, B, 5, or C, 7?
I'm going to go with 5.
All right, Isaac?
That sounds right to me. I was kind of thinking 5. I'm not doing it just because Zach. Yeah, I think 5 sounds right. I'm going to lock it in.
Unfortunately, it was 7 months.
It was 7, okay.
Could you imagine making that thing for 7 months? Wow.
It turned out real good.
It did.
It did.
It really, really, really did.
So, I really do want more behind the scenes on that stuff. Like, I just can't find it anywhere, and I've been looking for so long. Someone's got to have the footage.
So as of this recording, we're in January. 7 months. That puts us back in June. Imagine you started on that in June and you've completed it now. I mean, we hear 7 months, but that's crazy. That really is like you're just working on one thing for 7 months. And then that's maybe what happened is they heard a harmonica and they're like, can we get rid of that harmonica? So then they that would be torture working on an animatronic and harmonica. So, well, I'll try to get the next one, but great question, Seth. That's fascinating. I love the trivia questions that
I
you bring to
thought
the
for
table.
sure Zach was going to know that one, so I'm glad I
Yeah,
stumped you
no,
guys.
I didn't know that one. You stumped me. You got me. I've done a lot of research and looking into this film and everything that happened after this film, but nope, didn't know that one.
You got him,
I'm glad I
Seth.
got something fresh, something new.
It's awesome. I like learning.
That's a good question, considering how big of a fan Zach said he enjoys it. So that's a good question. So great job on stumping me and Zach. I'll try to get the next one, though. So, well, before we get down to our reviews, we like to just kind of look and see what other people think. So, Seth, what kind of reviews are you seeing out there?
The first review I got was CC the Movie Man -1. We haven't had him in a while. He said, obnoxious kid ruins the film, 3 out of 10.
I can kind of see that. He was pretty obnoxious at the beginning, but what do you think of that review, Zach?
I think that it's called a character arc. But that's fair. I mean, if you were annoyed by, I've been annoyed by people in films too that ended up, turning a new leaf at the end, and I was still like, nah, you annoyed me. So I'm not going to judge him too much, but he's not an obnoxious kid forever. Okay, watch Free Willy 2.
Yeah.
Well,
Now,
actually, he's kind of obnoxious in that too. Free Willy 3.
It's been years. I might have seen that, but wow. The one thing I will say that annoyed me the most is they showed him his room. He had the most amazing view, and he's just like, that's where I was like, okay, kid, come on. Like, this is incredible. Like, you get to see the ocean, you get to wake up, and he's just like ungrateful about it. So maybe that really rubbed him the wrong way. But I agree with you. Yeah, he has a great character arc. He grows and he gets better. But if he would have stayed like that, man, that rubbed me the wrong way.
The next review was from Han Solo Lover, says, sweet, meaningful movie, 9 out of 10.
There, 9 out of 10. What do you think of those comments of being a sweet family movie?
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to summarize it. If I was going to tell someone, like, go watch this movie, that's a great way to summarize.
So the last one I've got is Curiosity Killed Sean, said, quite underrated, or overrated, I'm sorry, quite overrated, 4 out of 10.
Oh. 4 out of 10, that is like a below average. We've talked about this on podcasts of just ratings. Sometimes people are like, I hated it, 7 out of 10. And we're like, that's not a bad rating, but I could see that be, if they think it's overrated. But what do you think, Zach?
I mean, not knowing this person's background, if they had heard about this movie for so long and then they went and watched it, and again, they saw that template of movies like this from the past, I could see why they could say overrated. I don't agree, but I can see how that would come out. I mean, like, I've grown up with this for too long, so it's hard for me to really detach myself from that. But I could see how the outcome for them would be that.
Yeah, I could kind of see it. Again,
I like your glass half full outlook, Zach, with these reviews.
That's a good way of looking at it. So, well, thank you for those reviews, Seth. One thing we want to do is try to get more input from kids because this is a family-friendly podcast. So Seth brought this up. It was a great idea. I do such a terrible job talking about how my kids think of the movie. So I have 4 children currently. My oldest, he's about to turn 10. So I'm just going to give kind of their review. I'm not going to, sometimes they're reluctant to say, I'm going to rate it this way. So my oldest, he's about 10 years old. He actually didn't watch this at first. He was kind of pushing back, kind of left the room a little bit, but he came back. And when he saw Willie jump over it, he was like, that was a good movie. So around 10 years old, I think they're going to be a little hesitant, maybe feel like, oh, this movie isn't great. It's overrated. But maybe once they start watching it, who knows? At least in my experience, my next son, he he was like, I enjoy it. He was just kind of okay. He's about 8 years old, so he seemed to enjoy the parts where they were interacting, Jesse and Willy. Everything else kind of bored him a little bit. He was kind of losing interest, but that's probably part of his age. And then my 6-year-old, he was like, take it home. I love this movie. He was just gushing about it. He loved it. He was all about it. Like he was locked in, laser focused. And this is the child that normally I'm trying to get his attention and get him focused on stuff. He's just at that age. No, this got his full attention. So I would recommend 5, 6 years old. I bet they're going to love this movie. And then my 3-year-old, he was definitely in that age where he's going to get distracted with stuff. But again, he loved the parts with Willy and the animals. He was, kind of pointing like, ooh, ooh, and stuff like that. So, I mean, that kind of passes the kid test. I think all the kids of any ages, once you get them to start, really sit down and watch it. Yeah. Kids of all ages should enjoy it. At least in my experience, I can't speak in behalf of all children, but that's kind of your kid test. We're going to kind of play around with it more. It's a nice little reminder for me to talk about my kids' reaction, because if you have kids of your own and you're thinking, should I put this on? In my experience, this is one that you probably want to reach for, especially between those age demographics. Well, let's get down to it. I'm really interested to hear you guys' thoughts, but we're going to start with Zach as our special guest. So I'm going to ask you the question for Free Willy. How are you going to rate it? Are you going to take it home? Are you going to watch it at grandma's? Or are you going to hide it in the attic?
I mean, I have it here, so I'm taking it home. I have the DVD right down there. So yeah, I've brought it home. I'm taking it home. I'm keeping it at home.
Very nice. There you go. Not much of a surprise, but still, you gave it the official seal with your rating. Very nice. Well, let's come to you, Seth. How are you going to rate Free Willy?
Okay, so to say there's some holes in the plot would be an understatement. However, I managed to have quite a bit of nostalgia with this one. I'm going to watch this at grandma's, being happy to revisit it soon. So that it's a higher tier, I would say, of watch it at grandma's.
Very nice. And that's always we try to stress that, like, watch it at grandma's is a good rating. We talk about all the memories we had of watching movies at grandma's, and there's certain movies where it's like, oh, I hope we put this on when we go to visit grandma's. So that's a respectable rating right there. And for me, I go back to my kids. I had a great time with this one. This was great for the family, and it was just interesting seeing those different reactions from my children. And personally, I was getting immersed into it. Like I said, when they really started to connect, Jesse and Willy, I was really like, yeah, let's see where this goes, because there was just different scenes that, oh yeah, I remember that scene. I mean, the big finale of him jumping over the rocks, obviously. That's what you remember. But you were talking about, putting him on the truck. I kind of forgot about that. And the father, their dynamic together, I kind of forgot about that. And it was really just refreshing just to see a movie like this. It was I'd put it as a strong candidate of just, if someone's looking for a good family flick, I don't know how you can go wrong. There's not really too much to really be cautious about with this one. Maybe the content matter, and if you're sensitive with animals and them being abused, but obviously it doesn't go too far in this. But I'm going to be with you, Seth. This is a watch it at grandma's, but I'm anxious to come back to this one. I think this is perfect to come back to every once in a while, and every once in a while might be every few months or so, especially if you have little ones. That I think Zach put it well. Probably summertime, I'm going to pull this one out again. I'm going to be watching it because it'll probably hit on those summer vibes and just capture that nostalgia. Because I agree with you guys too. This, man, it just hits me in the nostalgia, the 90s. Mm-hmm. It was something else. You just had to be there. What else is there to say? So, well, there you have it, folks. Another movie in the books. We can't not thank you enough, Zach. This was such a blast to have you on. So, as our special guest, we want to make sure we give you the spotlight. Why don't you tell the good people where they can find and connect with you?
Well, thank you guys so much for having me on. Honestly, this is I could go on for a very long time talking about this. I would highly recommend, I think it's on YouTube, watching the documentary I think it's called Keiko's Journey, the Free Willy story, where after this movie came out, there was a whole activist movement to get Keiko out of captivity and into the ocean, and the whole process and bureaucracy that went behind the scenes of how that happened and all that. It's a really, really fascinating story, and pairs really well after, especially if you are watching this for the first time, and then or not even just for the first time, but just like it pairs well with seeing the fictionalized story and then seeing how the real life journey of how getting a whale from captivity into the ocean and it being the whale from the movie actually works. So we don't have time to get into that. We could talk a lot more about that, but really recommend it. I think it's on YouTube for free. Other than that, you can find me at Zach Milne Talks Movies on YouTube. We do movie reviews, movie rankings, movie news. I'm starting to get back into that a little bit more, but it took a hiatus this last year. And overall, it's just a place to have fun movie discussions. Be yourself, and your opinions are your opinions, my opinions are my opinions, and neither of them are wrong. So let's just enjoy and have fun.
Love that. That's what we're all about too. That we want to hear your memories. We might have great memories, but someone might have terrible memories, but it's still fun. It's still fun to have that discussion. So yes, go check out Zach. He's got a great channel, lots of great content on there that you should enjoy. And I admire you, like keeping up with the news. That is a lot, but keep up the good work. That's great that you're getting back into that.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
We got to get our news somewhere, right? If we're going to get it, sometimes it's a channel that's really neat and fun just to go out and have a discussion like you're talking about there. So that's great. Be sure to go follow him now if you are not, and subscribe. Well, Seth, we make sure we do our due diligence. So why don't you tell the good people where they can find and connect with us?
You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. On TikTok at LADX Media. That's Ladix Media. You can email us at movies@grandmashouse@gmail.com. We have a wonderful newsletter, so check that out. We're on Patreon. And as always, go to movieposters.com and use the code Grandma's House at checkout for up to 15% off.
There you go. Yeah, make sure you're on our newsletter because we give away a free movie poster. It's a random drawing. All you got to do is be on our newsletter. You are entered every single month. We have so much fun with that. On our lives, we reveal the winner. And in addition, we have started to give away on our lives a free movie rental from Fandango at home. So if you want to get in on that fun, make sure you subscribe to us as well so you'll see when we go live. Come in, have the discussion like Zach was talking about, voice your thoughts. So we welcome them all, whether we think one way, you guys are like, I hate this movie. Bring it. Let's talk about it. We have so much fun. So we'll look forward to seeing you there. Well, that's going to do it for our time at Grandma's house. But don't worry, we will be back soon. So in the meantime, remember to be kind and rewind. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us.